Get out, son of a... Get out of the car, son of a beep... Oh, damn. I didn't know it was you. There are plenty of experts on the internet, people who promise foolproof techniques, and arrogant guys who think they can take on anyone, until they run into a real fighter. And there are no tricks, no excuses, just one thing: destruction. Fake masters and inflated egos being destroyed as it should be. And if you think these kinds of humiliations only happen between men, get ready for the story of Lazy the Savage, a guy who decided to step into the octagon with Ronda Rousey, the woman who at her peak would destroy opponents in seconds, with just one move, the armbar. El armbar.
Gonna step in. Rousey goes. Good overhead right by Ronda. And a big throw. She's in trouble. Oh, no, she's in it. She tapped. She tapped. Pressure. She's running for it. She got it.
It wasn't once, it wasn't twice. It was 6 times that Ronda made him tap out in the same training session. Each time faster, each time easier, and with lazy breathing as if he had run a marathon without even moving from the mat. The worst part is that Ronda did it with a smile, like someone playing with a kitten that doesn't know it's about to get scratched. In the end, Lazy understood that testing a mixed martial arts champion is one of those ideas that only sound fun until they actually start. Sometimes, fake masters not only live in their own bubble, they also have the audacity to bring it into a real fighter's gym. This guy, with all the arrogance in the universe concentrated in his aura, walked into a mixed martial arts gym like he was the star of an 80s movie and challenged a mixed martial arts fighter. What he didn't know was that the small guy standing in front of him wasn't just any rookie, he was Nam Fan, a professional mixed martial arts fighter. The fight began. The fake master, with a size advantage, went in with violent punches, as if he was trying to work out all his traumas in a single burst. He landed a few punches, yes, but Nam Fan didn't even flinch. No expression, no damage, as if he was just letting him play.
Now move in. Move now.
Until he said that's enough. A surgical right hand straight to the fake master's face, and the guy went down like someone had turned off his Wi-Fi. He got up dazed, with the same face you make when you wake up from an unplanned nap. And that's when Nam finished him, a knockout so devastating that there was no doubt who the real master was.
And we ain't done.
What started as a display of ego ended as a masterclass in humility and a dose of reality. Ji-Long versus Yasuhiro Kido. Ji-Long's name became famous all over the world thanks to his image as a Shaolin monk. His style wasn't that of a technical fighter, but rather that of a showman who let himself get hit, endured impossible punishment, and kept moving forward as if nothing happened.
But he just writes and says, "Give me your best shot," and he has plenty of them. And still he comes.
His fights against the legend Buakaw Banchimik made him go viral. Real wars where he earned respect for his toughness. He even managed to win one of those battles, fueling the myth of his resilience.
林夕，要知道，虽然是泰拳手，不过够小腿打缩，记住用手拳，后摆拳，两个人换拳，后摆拳，前摆拳。这场比赛我们需要一个真正的。
一龙胜利。
But that facade crumbled when he faced the Japanese fighter Yasuhiro Kido. In that fight, Jilong tried to do what he always did. Withstand blows, show that he was indestructible.
一龙还是穿了他的陈武康宇呢，是2014年这3年 Crush 连续3届冠，陈武康宇入行已经是20。
However, Kido didn't play that game. He kept his distance, waiting for the right moment.
双腿站架距离很开呀，到25负27 Q 啊！演过电影，演过《美国队长2》冬兵。哎，这滑倒他为什么转头去看一下？好容易被对手。
And in just the first round, he found the opening. A brutal head kick straight to Jilong's face sent him unconscious to the canvas.
对手一个飞膝就有可能，哎，高扫踢头，一龙转身拳，哎，慌了高扫啊！真的。
The fight ended in just a few minutes. The strategy of enduring everything had failed spectacularly. That day, Jilong discovered that no matter how tough someone claims to be, there will always be a blow that brings them down. His trick was to take hits until he took the last one, no touch versus the soldier. Among the most ridiculous charlatans are the ones behind the famous no touch, those who claim they can stop attacks or knock someone out without touching them. This supposed master decided to demonstrate his power in front of what appeared to be a soldier. The show began with him acting confident. He asked the soldier to try to hit him because he claimed he could stop the attacks with pure energy. He hit the soldier by surprise and smiled as if he had proven something. But on the second try, reality hit like a train. The fraud, still dizzy, wanted to try again, and this time he took a real barrage of blows, ending up humiliated in front of everyone. That day he discovered that fists can definitely be felt. You'd think that after being humiliated by Xu Xiaodong, Ding Hao would learn his lesson, but no. The Wing Chun master's confidence was still intact, although his logic wasn't quite as solid. This time he decided to challenge a Muay Thai fighter. Yes, the same art that trains with elbows, knees, and breaks ribs like they're dry branches. The fight lasted just over a minute, and that's only because the referee was being kind. Ding Hao tried to throw his typical magic taps while taking powerful punches and elbows. And then, his opponent landed a kick to the head. Boom. Ding Hao went down stiff as a board, completely knocked out and unconscious. There were no taunts, no laughter, just a body lying on the mat and the sound of ego collapsing. They say second chances are for learning, but in this case it was just a second dose of reality. Ma Baowu, the fake Tai Chi master. Tai Chi was born in China as an internal martial art, based on slow and fluid movements. Although today many people practice it as a form of meditation and for health, originally it also contained techniques for defense and control. But over time, many charlatans have turned it into an invincible style, even though in reality it never stands up to a real fighter. And among all those frauds, the most famous is Ma Baowu, an old man who proclaimed himself an indestructible master, claiming he could defeat anyone with his internal energy. With a confident smile, mockery, and grandiose speeches, Ma went viral in China because of his arrogance. One day he agreed to fight an amateur mixed martial arts practitioner. The scene was almost comical. The fight began. Ma raised his hands as if he were about to unleash his powers, and within seconds he took a right hand that sent him straight to the ground. He tried to get up only to take another hit and fall again. He tried a third time with the same result. Three humiliating falls in less than 30 seconds. His great inner energy didn't last at all. The audience burst into laughter, and the video went around the world as a perfect example of what happens when fantasy faces reality. And speaking of guys who don't learn their lesson, we're back with our old acquaintance, Charlie Selenoff. After being humiliated by Deontay Wilder, Selenoff decided that his next target would be none other than Floyd Mayweather Sr., the father and trainer of the legendary Floyd Mayweather Jr., a man who, although he was no longer young, still had the technique and cunning from a lifetime in boxing. As soon as the sparring began, Floyd Sr. gave a masterclass in movement, dodging every punch from Selenoff and responding with clean counters. As if he were teaching, but with gloves on.
Whoa, my God. Got that shoulder on.
Charlie once again went from arrogance to exhaustion, and from exhaustion to that look of, how do I get out of here without this going viral? Spoiler, it was already too late. In the dark corner of the most ridiculous martial arts, there exists a very special elite. Those who claim they can knock you out without touching you. Yes, literally, they say that with just a shout, a hand movement, or a chi wave, they can take you down. And if you don't go down, it's because you're not spiritually aligned. One of these masters, with a name as forgettable as his skills, decided it was time to test his technique in a real fight. His opponent, Xu Xiaodong, the Chinese mixed martial arts fighter known for having a single mission in life, exposing frauds. And he sure did. The master showed up to the fight dressed in traditional robes, surrounded by his disciples who would fall to the ground just by seeing him raise an eyebrow. The fight began. The master extended his hands as if he were about to launch a Kamehameha. Xu Xiaodong didn't flinch. He moved forward, sized him up, and boom, a single right punch to the face, and the master went down. He took another barrage of blows, this time with real force. There was no chi, no magical energy, just pain and a beating. The fight lasted less than 30 seconds, and the master's ego was left lying on the mat, along with his invisible powers. Because chi may flow, but fists hit. The fake Aikido master. Aikido is a Japanese martial art created in the 20th century, focused on self-defense, taking advantage of the opponent's strength, deflecting attacks, applying joint locks and throws. In theory, it is based on harmony and control, not on violence. But as always, there were masters who distorted it, selling it as if it were an absolute power against any opponent. That was the case of a supposed master who agreed to face a Turkish wrestler. He walked in confidently, exuding the attitude, I don't need to hit, I'm in control. But reality lasted less than a heartbeat. The Turk took him down, dominated him, and made him submit in seconds. The man who presented himself as invincible, capable of dominating with simple moves, ended up reduced to a punching bag. The only thing he managed to deflect was his dignity toward the ground. The no-touch technique against a real fighter. Another one of these masters who claimed he could knock out without touching. He held exhibitions where his students collapsed with just a wave of his hands. He was revered by his followers as if he had a supernatural power. But one day, a real fighter challenged him in front of the cameras. The difference was immediate. The fake master raised his hands, tried to project his energy, and absolutely nothing happened. The fighter decided to get serious. A couple of clean hits, a quick combination, and the fraud ended up on the ground, unable to defend himself. The beating lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to destroy the whole illusion. What he had sold as magic for years was proven to be what it always was, a fraud. His invisible power vanished with the first real punch. The next master was not a complete stranger. Wang Jianlong introduced himself as an expert in traditional kung fu, instructor, martial arts actor, and defender of ancient Chinese techniques. A kind of Bruce Lee without charisma or effective strikes. For years, Wang had become famous for his demonstrations, acrobatic moves, kicks in the air, and exaggerated stances. But then, he wanted to move to the next level. In September 2023, Wang publicly challenged one of the most feared fighters on the planet, Buakaw Ban Chamek, the Thai destroyer himself. The man who made kickboxing change its rules, a machine of violence with legs of steel and elbows that cut like blades. What happened when these worlds collided? An unintentional comedy. From the very first second, Wang ran around in circles, kicking at nothing and gesturing as if he were in a movie. Buakaw watched him, almost confused, even making fun of him. Wang kept throwing punches, but Buakaw didn't take him seriously. Until he decided to get serious and started attacking. He trapped him in a clinch, grabbed him by the neck, and landed a knee straight to his torso. Wang stepped back, complained, and raised his hand. The referee tried to resume the fight, but Wang had already started his show. He demanded that the rules be changed to mixed martial arts rules. He shouted, waved his hands, and even accused Buakaw of cheating. The result? No contest. The fight didn't end, but the respect for Wang did. Buakaw didn't even flinch. He greeted the audience, smiled, and left. Meanwhile, Wang kept giving an improvised press conference in the middle of the ring. Some fakers still put on their acted exhibitions, earning applause from the audience. But this supposed Tai Chi master went even further. He went straight into Xu Xiaodong's gym to prove his invincibility. Arrogantly, he challenged one of Xu's students, and what happened was a total humiliation. The young fighter showed no mercy. From the very first second, he punished him with combinations of punches while the master could barely keep his balance. Every attempt at Tai Chi defense was made to look ridiculous by real blows that made him stagger. The fight didn't last long, but it was enough to make it clear. The fraud wasn't just defeated, he was completely beaten up in front of everyone at the gym. He went to the dojo to give a lesson and ended up with a free class and getting punched. Mike Tyson on a plane. Those words should be enough to make anyone behave like a saint, but not for this genius. In the middle of the flight, a loudmouth decided to bother Iron Mike again and again, as if he were testing how much patience one of the most feared men on the planet had left. He's bothering Mike Tyson. That's crazy. Spoiler, it wasn't much. Hey, Mike, come on, stop, Mike. This guy got punched by Mike Tyson on a plane. Turn around. Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, he got f***ed up.
There was no referee or bell, just reality hitting hard. Now, from an internet troll, let's move to another arrogant guy. It's Nico, a YouTuber famous for his controversial opinions and defiant attitude. At an event, he ran into Sean Strickland, former champion of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and decided to challenge him. Is he an influencer? I think so, yes. Then keep it up. Keep talking to people. Can you share some wisdom? I enjoyed your podcast, The Knuckle Boys, and like seeing you all under pressure for the first time. Most influencers are idiots. Work hard, be decent men. Stay away from TikTok, stay away from Instagram, have a better life. Strickland agreed without thinking too much, and weeks later, both of them were in an octagon ready to spar. From the very first second, Strickland pressured him with direct shots to the face, quick combinations, and total control of the pace.
Bro, you're gonna be a fucking man. Let's see the influencer. So you're ready to knock me out. Mark.
Sneeko tried to respond, but he looked like a beginner trying to survive in the middle of a storm.
Weirdest moment you're realizing. Get hurt? No, you're good. Oh! Halfway. Did you think this is how? He's hurt. He's hurt. There you go. Oh.
When it was all over, there were no doubts left. It had been a humiliating beating, with Strickland smiling as he threw punches, and Sneeko learning that champions don't need to raise their voices to shut you up. They say money can buy many things, but it can't buy you real fighting skills, and Dikayu is proof of that. A self-proclaimed no-touch self-defense master, Dikayu built his fame on YouTube, dodging punches that were never thrown and claiming that his method could neutralize anyone with pinpoint accuracy, without even breaking a sweat. But in December 2022, Yu decided to go beyond the slow-motion tutorials. He agreed to step into the ring with Manny Pacquiao, the only man who has been a world champion in 8 different weight classes. And even though he was already retired, the Filipino still had plenty of power in his hands, and a lot of unfinished business with the show-offs. From the first round, it was clear this wasn't choreographed. Deka tried to keep his distance, throwing slow, measured punches almost fearfully.
Antonio Pereira has done has been truly sin. He said that he thinks popularity is the same, if not so, in our second frame. We're here at 160.
Pacquiao, on the other hand, was having fun, playing around, sizing him up, and little by little, he started to unleash his artillery.
100%. But for DK, it's seen shot for you. We'll see if Manny decides.
DK's so nice.
Of Triller Fight Club. Happy holidays to all of you and your family.
Good right hook up top by Manny.
Ooh, let's go, the right hook. Picked up the pace, as you pointed out, Sinisa. Elbow left there.
In the second round, Pacquiao cornered him with a flurry of punches to the body and face.
Prolongate some time, and down goes DKU.
Right here we see Manny exploding in and...
Deka had nothing. During the 6 rounds, Pacquiao destroyed him technically, even making him crawl.
Will Manny Pacquiao opt to do so? Now they are wrestling, jostling for position. He's going for a...
He made him drop his guard, landed crosses to his face, doubled him over with hooks to the liver, and taught him that inner energy is useless when you have a true champion in front of you.
Manny driving DK. Oh my God! His technical superiority and glimpses at times of his career.
And even though the fight was an exhibition, the knockdowns were real. And so was the message. No matter how much you meditate, the hooks also reach your soul. Deka ended up losing by unanimous decision, and his self-defense method suffered a moral knockout. Bradley Martin is one of the most well-known bodybuilders on the internet. He's a gym owner, influencer, and an expert at lifting cars and egos. For months, he kept saying that he could beat any mixed martial arts fighter if he got a good hold on them. Could you beat me in a street fight? In a street fight? You're a podcast host, bro. I love it. So is the answer yes? Of course, I love it. If you grapple me, you're dead. I love it. I think I could beat you. You won't. So, Demetrius Johnson, who fights at 125 pounds in street fights, would destroy you. Why Demetrius Johnson? He's small, but he's a black belt and all that. When it comes to hand-to-hand combat, you're not good on the ground. I know you probably think you'll pick him up and slam him on the concrete. I don't know what you expect to happen. I'm going to smash his head on the ground, right? Even being considered a bully for slapping a streamer just for taking his cap. Give me my damn cap! Damn it! Until one day they made him eat the floor. He faced a jiu-jitsu master, and what followed was pure silence and humiliation. The master took him to the ground like he was a sack of protein, swept him, mounted him, and took his soul with a guillotine choke.
Look at my head bad. You good? Yeah, hold on. I got rocked.
You can do that.
But if that wasn't enough, that same day he faced a much smaller student, much smaller. The result? Same story. Bradley ended up laughing, of course, but you could tell he'd learned his lesson. Muscles don't save you from a rear naked choke. But if we're talking about bad ideas, none can compete with Charlie Selenov's, a professional internet troll who called himself the best boxer in the world, without winning anything, not even a school tournament. His favorite target was Deontay Wilder, a man over 2 meters tall with such a brutal punch that he has knocked out almost all of his professional opponents.
Watch the jab, right hand. And then once Lahovich went to the ropes, that was...
Yes, that guy you should never provoke. For months, Selenov insulted and threatened him. Deontay Wilder. Listen, clown, talking trash, huh? Do you remember how you left me hanging in 2012 and I beat Derek the Giant? I would knock you out, son of a... Let me ask you something. If you're such a good fighter, why did you fix that fight with Malik Scott? Piece of trash. If I hit you with my power, you'll spit out your mouthguard and every one of your teeth, son of a bitch. You're a damn bum. Let's meet right now. Come to Los Angeles. I'm the champion. Damn bum. You're a joke. Hey, I'll send you my last fight. Kickboxer. 28 seconds, damn it. Do you want to be next? Let's meet. You're a damn clown. Until one day, Wilder decided to confront him. The result? Selenov could barely throw a couple of punches before taking a monumental beating.
There you go. No. Yep. All right.
Charlie came out staggering, breathing heavily, and with a great story to tell, if he still wants to tell it. Rukila Ampo, champion of the K1 tournament, known for his speed, precision, and for throwing kicks that could knock out streetlights. His opponent, a supposed master of traditional kung fu, accepted the fight convinced that his ancient wisdom would be enough. But what we saw was something else. From the very first second, Rukilla turned him into a human punching bag. Punches, combinations, kicks, everything landed cleanly.
That's it.
And that's where the secret technique of the fake master comes in, stopping punches with his face. Yeah, literally. At times he looked like a wobbly inflatable doll, but he didn't fall down. He just spun around kind of dizzy, like he was looking for the way out of the ring. The only thing that saved him was the bell. Although, honestly, a knockout would have been more dignified. Another free lesson in reality, courtesy of a world champion, and another demonstration that movie Kung Fu doesn't survive in the real ring. Xu Xiaodong versus Wing Chun Master. Wing Chun is a classic style from southern China, famous for its hand speed and the legend of Bruce Lee. But this so-called Wing Chun Master was nothing like a legend. With his air of invincibility, he agreed to fight Xu Xiaodong. The result was a beating from start to finish. Xu hit him with quick combinations, low kicks, and straight punches to the face. The master could barely lift his arms, taking constant punishment, stumbling from one side of the ring to the other. The referee had to step in to stop the humiliation, because there was no longer a fight, just a real fighter demolishing a fraud. The movie-style Wing Chun ended in a cartoonish beating. One day, a gym bodybuilder, one of those who spends more time looking in the mirror than checking the time, arrived at a Brazilian jiu-jitsu dojo and challenged the master. And what followed was a lesson in humility wrapped in pain. The Brazilian controlled him, wrapped him up with his legs, and started slapping him as if it were a rhythm class with contact. He didn't knock him out or injure him. He just humiliated him, but the bodybuilder learned nothing. Weeks later, he came back, and this time, before starting, he extended his hand to the master, only to pull it back and slap him, a rat with biceps. The result was the same: submission, total control, and another defeat for the collection.
Okay.
But it doesn't end there, because that same day he wanted to try his luck with one of the master's students, a much smaller woman. And what happened? Rear naked choke, tap out, and absolute silence.
Oh, Jordan, he's asleep.
Bodybuilder 0, Jiu-Jitsu 3, ego destroyed. They can lift 200 kilos, show off their abs, and flex in front of the mirror all day. But when they step onto a tatami, they discover that muscle doesn't think and ego doesn't tap out. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how much you weigh or how big your chest is, if you don't know how to defend your neck. Xu Xiaodong versus fake Kung Fu master. Xu Xiaodong is known as the great fraud hunter in China, a mixed martial arts fighter who got tired of self-proclaimed masters claiming to have supernatural powers. In one of his most viral fights, he faced a supposed Kung Fu master. As soon as the bell rang, the fake master rushed out wildly, throwing punches without any technique. Xu, calm and relaxed, let himself get hit as if it was nothing, almost mocking him. In the first serious combination, Shu landed a strong hit and broke the master's nose.
比赛开始了，我们看到肖东利用之前
From that point on, the man had to fight with a bandage on his face, which made him look even more ridiculous.
通过这种包扎，田野的面目。
The fight continued with Shu punishing him at will.
我们看到这个徐晓东教育你，就是用扫踢，什么叫推法？这种低扫，见到一个肘法，只是用左右手的直拳，啊，没事儿，我有铁头功，没关系。现在我们就看田野还能。
Then, with a simple low kick, he sent him to the ground.
回合是3分钟。
He even allowed himself to be hit just to show how useless the fraud's attacks were.
现在这个徐晓东说：“你打吧，没事儿，后直再来，这打不还手，我给你一腿。”
And as if that wasn't enough, he kept humiliating him with punches and smiles, until he finally got tired and finished him off with a knee to the stomach.
哇！一个飞膝。
The master went out to teach Kung Fu and ended up learning how a nose gets broken. If you thought the fake masters had learned their lesson, wait for this round. Xu Xiaodong, the Chinese MMA fighter known as Mad Dog, had already gone viral for exposing Kung Fu frauds, until he came across Ding Hao, an alleged grandmaster of Wing Chun, with a direct lineage to the style of IP Man. From the very first second, the Wing Chun grandmaster Ding Hao started throwing punches in the air as if he were swatting mosquitoes. Xu Xiaodong, known for exposing martial arts frauds, didn't even flinch. In fact, he let himself get hit and mocked him right in the middle of the fight. But as soon as he decided to get serious, bam, a flurry of punches. Boom, Ding Hao goes down. Xu knocked him down several times effortlessly. The fight was a monologue, a public lesson in humility. Xu kept making fun of him. And it would end with the beating. But the most surreal part came later. The judges declared a draw. A draw. The whole world saw a beating, but the judges saw tradition. Because in this fight, the only martial art that was respected was the art of being ridiculous, the fake Shaolin monk. For centuries, the name Shaolin has been linked to martial mysticism. The real Shaolin monks are known for their iron discipline, their extreme training, and the combination of spirituality with traditional martial arts. Impossible jumps, mental and physical strength, resistance to pain. In the collective imagination, a Shaolin monk is almost like a superhero, but of course what we see here is not a real Shaolin monk, but a charlatan disguised as a monk, who thought he could use that label to gain fame. And as often happens, he decided to test his invincibility against a real mixed martial arts fighter. The result was an instant disaster. From the start, the fake monk entered the ring with theatrical poses, exaggerated breathing, and an air of superiority. The mixed martial arts fighter acted quickly. A couple of direct combinations to the face made him stagger, and seconds later he was on the ground, taking punishment without any response. There was no magic technique, no acrobatic kicks, and certainly no superhuman resistance. In the end, his Shaolin wisdom boiled down to learning how to kiss the canvas in seconds. But not all beatings are brutal. Some are so elegant that they hurt the ego more than the body. That's what happened to Jarvis, a YouTuber who had the great idea of challenging Floyd Mayweather to a sparring match. Yes, Floyd, the undefeated one, the master of defensive boxing, the man who has made the best in the world look bad.
When he throws it. Now he wobbles Chavez and goes down.
From the moment the bell rang, Mayweather moved with insulting ease, dodging every punch and counterattacking with surgical precision. He touched him with jabs, made him miss, smiled, even talked to him while hitting him.
I want you.
Jarvis tried to keep his composure, but the reality was that he was in a private lesson, and he was the slowest student. When the sparring ended, there was no blood, no knockout, but there was a lesson immortalized on video. The difference between an amateur and one of the greatest boxers in history. Bob Sapp was famous for his size, his screams, and for racking up losses as if they were part of the show. And a few wins.
It would be a very smart thing for Yamamoto to do too. Oh! Keep Bob Sapp off him. The fight. Oh!
A former American football player with a monster physique, but a glass jaw. In front of him was Aorigele, a Chinese fighter nicknamed Kung Fu Panda, fat, rough, but with a single mission, to take down giants. July 2nd, 2016, Road FC 32, China. From the moment the bell rang, Aorigele went after him with everything, punches, kicks, non-stop pressure.
그렇군요. 야, 라이트. 자, 서로 펀치를 주고 그러면 엄청 펀치로 하시는 밥샷. 자, 여기에 푸기면서 대응을 하고 있는데요. 상대를 좀 보면서 대응을 해야 될 것 같습니다.
Sapp didn't throw anything. He just took the hits. And when he fell to the ground, Aorigele finished him with ground and pound. No mercy.
자, 우리 거로 라이트. 밥샷. 펀치를 주습니다. 이분은 뭐 밥샷이 경기를 거의
Technical knockout in 35 seconds. A straight-up massacre. A bodybuilder folding the first time he faced a real fighter. After what happened with Tyson, you'd think no one else would make the same mistake. But blind confidence is more common than it seems. Next up is Big Blends, a YouTuber known for cutting hair while doing street interviews. One day, he ran into Sean O'Malley, champion of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and thought he could last more than 15 seconds without giving up. Considering that I've never fought before, how long would it take you to take me down? 10 seconds. I would grab you by the neck really fast. I think I could last 30 seconds. No. No, you couldn't. I've got a vicious streak. If you can't breathe, none of that matters. If we were in a circle like this, I'd grab you by the head. No, man, you have to respect me. 15 seconds would be me respecting you. I said 10. They put on their gloves, touched gloves, and in less than the blink of an eye, O'Malley proved what he said.
You know what? All right, go. Go. Hold up, man.
Big smiled awkwardly, but his face said, okay, this was a bad idea. Mikhail Koklyaev is a Russian weightlifter, strongman champion, and one of those guys who think that muscle is synonymous with absolute power. Before his fight with Alexander Emelianenko, brother of the legendary Fedor, Koklyaev tried to act tough. He threw his cap in his face.
Что? Что ты делаешь?
And when the day of the fight arrived, reality wiped the smile off his face. Koklyaev started aggressively, throwing punches as if he were competing in weightlifting. The champion surprises me. But Alexander held on, measured him, and just seconds before the end of the first round, he started landing punches. And Koklyaev collapsed, as if he'd run out of juice. KO. Knockout in the first round. The cap flew before the fight, but the one who flew afterward was him. The invincible Aikido versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. For years, this so-called Aikido master claimed that his art was superior to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He said he could control, neutralize, and subdue without the need for strength. Aikido is better than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Until a real Jiu-Jitsu fighter challenged him to a fight. With Aikido, you can neutralize the threat quickly to reduce harm. With good Aikido training, you have more tools than with Jiu-Jitsu to resolve an altercation. And what followed was a quick lesson in reality.
Keep going. Keep going. There you go. Come on. Head down, head down. Come on. Head down. All right.
It was a technical massacre. The Aikido master could barely breathe, and in the end, he had no choice but to surrender. Because manipulating wrists is one thing, but escaping from a real fighter is another. Hafthor Bjornsson, the mountain from Game of Thrones with more than 2 meters and 200 kilos of Scandinavian muscle. One day he trained with Conor McGregor in a light session. No gloves, no clear rules, just for fun. Nothing serious happened, just a bit of a show for the cameras, but sometime later, Hafthor appeared on a podcast. What he didn't know was that karma can slap on a submission hold. Years later, he faced Gordon Ryan, the best jiu-jitsu competitor in the world, in a grappling match. A much smaller guy, but with the technique of a snake.
He has it. It is. It's done. Gordon Ryan.
And what followed was a masterclass. Gordon spun him, mounted him, swept him, and dominated him, as if Hafthor were a gym beginner. No shouting, no brute force, no Netflix cameras, just technique and absolute control. In the end, Hafthor could only laugh and admit that he didn't stand a chance against a real fighter. It was good, a dose of humility, and it leaves you wanting more. It makes you want to come back and do more. They are two incredible people, good, humble. Because you can be the strongest in Iceland, but when someone grabs your neck with precision, not even dragons can save you. Chu Xiaodong versus Chen Yong. Tai Chi. Tai Chi originated as an internal martial art, full of philosophy, gentle movements, and balance. But some turned it into a farce, promising they could defeat anyone with invisible techniques. That was the case of Chen Yong, a supposed Tai Chi master, who agreed to face Xiaodong. The fight lasted less than it takes to yawn. Chen Yong had no defense, no magic, no inner energy to save him. The fight ended so quickly that the only memorable thing was the master's humiliation in front of the cameras. Challenging a world champion while insulting him on Twitter is basically asking for humiliation. That's what one troll did. He kept calling Sonny Edwards, a British world champion with impeccable technical boxing, a coward.
The referee seemed... I wouldn't hit him, you know what I mean? He was so shot.
The guy took his insults so far that he even showed up at Sonny's gym to challenge him face to face. I've never used boxing gloves before. I know I'm a strong man, and I think he's a coward. Wrong. As soon as the sparring started, Edwards turned him into a moving target, dancing around him, landing punches at will, and even dropping his hands to show he didn't even need to try. See?
Fuck, you actually contract.
No.
The troll ended up exhausted, taking hits from all sides and with the lesson written all over his face. Talking trash on social media is free, but in the ring, you pay for it fast. In this case, we're not talking about just one arrogant person, but about an entire group. Some street fighters walked into a gym with the brilliant idea of challenging a former K1 champion. The first one stepped up confidently, and in no time he was already knocked out. Then the second one stepped up. Same result. In a matter of minutes, two street fighters learned the fastest lesson of their lives. In the real world, champions don't need an introduction. Their punches speak for them. Brian Shaw isn't just any bodybuilder. He's literally the strongest man in the world. Four-time world's strongest man champion, able to lift over 500 kilos as if they were bottles of water. But one day he decided to step onto the mat with Dustin Poirier, a lightweight from the Ultimate Fighting Championship, black belt in jiu-jitsu, an expert at making much bigger guys tap out. In a friendly grappling session, Brian thought his strength would be enough, and then Dustin flipped him over as if he were turning a mattress. I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Then he took his back and locked in a clean, technical, and inescapable rear naked choke. I didn't see that coming. Because you can be the strongest man on the planet, but if someone grabs your neck, all the muscle in the world won't save you. To finish, Holyfield, leaving his house, accidentally cuts off a car. The driver gets out furious until he sees who it is. He went from insults to smiles in seconds and realized that there are arguments that aren't worth starting. Get out right now. I'm gonna kick your ass. Come on, oh damn. I didn't know it was you.